On the night of May 21st, 1945, an American night attack on the island of Okinawa went catastrophically wrong. Trapped in the dark, a young Army medic was hit by an exploding grenade and left stranded in the mud. He was bleeding out. Shrapnel had torn through his legs, and as he waited for rescue, a sniper's bullet struck his arm, resulting in a compound fracture. This specific medic was famous across his division for refusing to ever touch a firearm. But lying in the dirt, he finally reached out and grabbed an M1 Garand rifle. He didn't load a bullet. Instead, he bound the heavy wooden stock to his shattered arm to act as a makeshift splint, dragging his broken body 300 yards over rough terrain to safety. Doss had arrived in Okinawa as a pariah for his refusal to touch a gun. Now, his survival depended on the wooden weight of a rifle stock. 3 years earlier, in 1942, a shipyard worker from Virginia named Desmond Doss was drafted into the military. He was a devout Seventh-day Adventist, and his faith gave him a strict boundary. He would not carry a weapon. He rejected the official label of conscientious objector. Doss preferred the term conscientious cooperator. He believed the American war effort was entirely just, but his religious convictions strictly forbade him from taking a human life. That operating philosophy clashed immediately with the reality of basic training, where combat readiness is measured entirely by lethality. In this environment, a medic who refused to hold a gun was seen as a major liability. His fellow recruits tormented him. They threw boots at his head while he prayed at night. One soldier told him to his face that if they went into combat together, he would personally make sure Doss didn't come back alive. The military apparatus also tried to force him out. His commanding officers attempted to have him discharged on the grounds of mental illness. When that failed, they tried to court-martial him for refusing to hold a rifle and denied him leave to visit his own brother. Despite the institutional pushback, Doss deployed to the Pacific. He was heading into the deadliest theater of the war, tasked with keeping men alive who had openly labeled him a coward. This 3D profile shows the geography of the Maeda Escarpment on Okinawa, better known as Hacksaw Ridge. You can see a sheer 400-foot cliff face that ends in a 35-foot overhang, creating a near-impossible vertical climb for an advancing army. In late April 1945, the 1st Battalion scaled cargo nets and crested that summit. They were immediately met by a concentrated wall of Japanese artillery, mortar, and machine gun fire. Approximately 75 men fell in minutes, forcing the survivors to retreat back down the cliff. While the uninjured troops scrambled down the ropes, Doss voluntarily stayed on the fire-swept summit. Knowing that enemy snipers specifically targeted medical personnel to destroy morale, he stripped off his medic insignias and went to work. Unarmed and completely exposed, he dragged the heavily bleeding men one by one to the edge of the escarpment. He tied them into a rope-supported litter and lowered all 75 casualties down the cliff face to safety. The man who had been ruthlessly bullied in basic training was now the sole lifeline for the exact soldiers who had previously threatened to kill him. The popular cultural myth treats Hacksaw Ridge as a single afternoon of intense heroism, but official military records reveal a different reality. This timeline illustrates the official Medal of Honor citation for Doss. It shows his actions didn't happen over a few hours. They spanned from April 29th all the way to May 21st. On May 2nd, he advanced 200 yards past American lines under heavy sniper fire to rescue a fallen soldier. 2 days later, he made 4 separate trips into an active, heavily defended cave mouth, dressing wounds while walking through a shower of grenades. On May 5th, he painstakingly administered plasma to an artillery officer in the open, while mortar shells detonated just feet away. Later that day, he crawled 25 feet from a Japanese bunker to drag another wounded man to safety. Doss was conducting a relentless, weaponless endurance campaign. For nearly a month, he operated in a lethal environment without any means of defending himself, refusing to leave a single man behind. Which brings us back to the night of May 21st. After a grenade blast shredded his legs, Doss lay bleeding in the mud for 5 hours. He stayed quiet, actively refusing to call another medic out into the deadly crossfire. When litter bearers finally reached him under the cover of darkness, they were suddenly caught in a devastating Japanese tank attack. In the middle of the ambush, Doss physically rolled himself off his own stretcher. He pointed to a critically wounded man nearby and ordered the bearers to evacuate him instead. By giving up his only chance at rescue, he remained completely exposed. As he waited alone in the dirt, the man who refused to bear arms was struck by a sniper, forcing him to physically bind himself to an instrument of war to crawl to safety. On October 12, 1945, Doss stood on the White House lawn as President Harry S. Truman formally recognized his actions. He was awarded the Medal of Honor. Out of the millions who served, Doss became the first and only conscientious objector to receive the nation's highest military decoration during the Second World War. When asked how he survived and continued to rescue so many, he credited a single principle: his strict adherence to the Golden Rule from the Gospel of Matthew, treating others exactly as he would want to be treated. Doss earned the Medal of Honor for saving 75 lives without firing a single shot. He demonstrated that the most durable force on a battlefield is an unbreakable conviction.